today we are going to learn about array problem, which is product of an array, and we are trying to cover what this problem is doing. We will try to cover a brute force approach and then try to understand the time complexity of the problem. Okay, so let's try dive into the problem statement here, and let's try it out. Okay, so basically product of an array, everybody knows that what is array and what we are trying to achieve here. Okay, so we are given an array of n positive integers, so we are receiving positive integers here, so no negative integers. Write a program to output product of all the elements present into the array. So we have to basically multiply all the elements of an array and then return the product of it. Okay, and what we are getting, the first line contains n and the second line contains n space separated integers. So let's try to understand this. And what is the constraint is that n should be less than 100. So what will be the value of n will be between 1 to 99. It is less than 100, so it will not consider 100 in it. And output should be one number which is the product of all element. Okay, let's try to understand this. So we are having 5. So what they have said, first line in contains n. So this n represents what is the length of our array here. Okay, so here 1 2 3 4 5, we have 5, that's why the n is 5. If you have a 10, it would have 10. So based on the input, the value would be there. And what is the output they are expecting is 1080. So basically it is trying to multiply 3 into 5 into 2 into 9 into 4, and multiplication of all of these will return 1080 in the end. So this is trying to do that. Okay, so let's try to understand the brute force approach for this problem, and let's see what we can, like, how we can solve this problem. Let me quickly clean it up. Okay, let's go into the code side now. Let me try to get a pen. Okay, so everybody will understand what we have here is we have a 5, which is our first line, and we have an array. What is our array? 3 5 2 9 4. So basically it's like something like this, comma separated. Okay, okay, everybody with me, I hope, till this time. So we have to multiply all these values, so we have to loop over this. That is gonna be the true. So we have to loop over this, like we have to come to for 0 position to the last position. So for that we have to loop over it, and we have to use a for loop for that. Okay, and we have to return the product of the array here, like they have written 1080. So to return that, we need to store it somewhere. Okay, so let's try what we can do here is, let's try to store the resultant value in some variable. Let's say variable answer is equal to 1. So anything, everybody knows that anything which is multiplied with 1 will be the value itself. So we are going to do that, and after that we need to loop over our array. So let's try to write a loop. I should be 0, I should be less than n, because n is the length of our array, and it should be less than 8. And then we have to do I plus plus, so it can increase the value of I, and we can move to the iteration. Okay, I hope everybody is with me till this time. And I need to point this out, is that like every value here holds a position. So in our JavaScript or any language, we start to positioning from 0, not 1. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Okay, so 0 represents the value of 3, 1 represents the value of 5, 2 represents the value of 2, 3 represents the value of 9, and 4 represents the value of 4. And let's say we are trying to name this array as x, array x. Okay, this is x, where it is stored in the variable x, let's assume for now. Okay, now let's move again into our code. So we have wrote our for loop. So now what we want to do, like with this for loop, so we have to store our value into the answer. So how we can store? Then we have to mention that we are trying to assign some value to the answer. What we are gonna assign? We are gonna assign the answer into the, what is the name of our array is x of I. Okay, we will come to this what we are trying to do here. and after our loop ends, we will return our answer. Okay, let's try to understand what we are trying to achieve. Okay, so we will start with the loop. We will try to dry run this loop. So initially I is equal to 0. Everybody agrees. Let me try with some darker font. Okay, great. So initially I is 0. So when JavaScript will come to this point, it will assign answer is equal to 1, and then it will come to the loop. So inside the loop, it will try to run this loop. So initially the value of I is 0, then it will come answer is equal to, we are trying to assign some value to the answer. So what we are doing, answer is equal to answer. What is the value currently stored in the answer? It's 1 into x of I, and x of I, what it represents, what is the value of I right now? It is 0, so it will represent x of 0. And what is the x of 0? 3. So what it will do, basically it will multiply 1 into 3 and store it into the answer. So it will multiply 3 into 1. What is the value of 3 into 1? It will be 3. So it will remove the 1 and store the 3, and again come to the loop by increasing the value of I plus plus. Okay, let me just quickly erase this much. Okay, okay, great. Take the pen. Okay, now the value of I, we have increased it, so it's not 0. Now the value of I is 1. Okay, everybody with me, I hope. So now we will again come into the loop, and value of I is now 1. Now answer is equal to, we are trying to again assign value to the answer. Now what is we are storing into the answer? It's 3. So what it will do, it will multiply 3 into x of I. What is the value of I now? 1. So x of 1 right now is, what is it, x of 1? So it's 5. Okay, if you see here, what is the position 1 is holding? It is holding 5. So then we will multiply 3 into 5, and it will be 15, and it will store that 15 into where? In answer. So then again the value of answer is changed to 15. Okay, let me again remove this code. And I'm removing these to make a space. This one also. Okay, so everybody knows that the value we were storing there was, here was 15 and here was 1. Now after the loop, we will increase the value of I, then I becomes 2. We will increase it. After that again it will come here. Now answer is equal to, what is the value we are holding in answer? 15. 15 into x of 2. What is the x of 2? X of 2 is 2. Then it will multiply 15 into 2 and store it into the answer. Then 15 into 2 is 30. So it will store 30 here, and again increase the value of I. What will be? It will increase to 3. Then again it will come here. It will multiply 30 into, what is the x of 3? It is 9. So what is it multiplication? 270. Okay, so it will do 270. Okay, and again increase the value of I. Now value of I is 4. Okay, now again it come into the loop, and then after that it will, what it will do, what is the value of stored into the answer right now? What is the value stored into the answer right now is 270. Okay, 270. Now what we are going to do, 270 into, what is the value of x of 4? It is 4. So we are going to multiply 270 into 4, and the output will be 1080, and we are going to store it into the answer 1080. Okay, after that if we increase the value of I, it will become what? 5. Okay, and what we condition we are having here is I should be less than n. What is n? We have 5. Okay, so is 5 less than 5? No. So the loop will break, and then our for loop is completed here. Okay, and that way we will return our answer, and what is stored into the answer is 1080, and that way we will complete our output for this. I hope everybody got this dry run. Now let's try to dive into the code, how we can write this into the functional coding, and how we can make it dynamic for all kind of input here. Okay, let's try to dive into the code part now. Let me go to the VS Code. Okay, so this is the code I have already written for it. Okay, let me try to run it on the terminal. So to run it on the terminal, I came into my DSA folder, and inside that I'm gonna run the command as node and the file name, that is day1.js, and it will run. It gave me the output 1080. Let's try to see what I did here step by step. Okay, so in one const variable I have stored the input here, and then I have stored the const as n is equal to 5. Okay, and then I created one const multiply array function. Okay, and then I'm console logging the multiply array function by invoking it and passing the input and the n value into that function. Everybody, I hope, understood this much part. And then what I'm trying to do here is I'm taking that input and n, and then I have checked if n is equal to 1, because if our array's length is, let's say in our array, our input array, there is only one value. So what will be the what will be the return of this input? It will be 3. The value will be itself. So we have added that case, if n is equal to 1, then we don't need to multiply, or we don't need to go to the for loop. It will directly return the 0th position element, because there is no one else in that. And if it is more than 1, then we are coming, where we are coming, we are coming to the else part. In the else part, in the let temp, I have stored one value, which will be the answer in our example. Like, let's say we can store it as an answer, and what we'll do, answer is equal to answer into input of I. Okay, and what is the input? Input is our array. Okay, now again it will do the same thing that we were doing in our dry run. After completing of this loop, we are going to return the temp value that we are receiving here, and that way we will solve the problem of product of an array. I hope everybody got this, and after this we will try to deep dive into the time complexity part. So this was the problem from the code that we were trying to run. Let's try to understand the time complexity for this one, how we can calculate the time complexity for this problem. Okay, let me get the pen again. Let's take a white color. Okay, let's come to the point then. So this was our input, this is our like constraint, like what is the length of our input array. So this is our multiply array function that I created, and I'm console logging that function to console the value, and then I'm invoking the function, passing the input and our length of the array. Okay, we got it here, we received both of them here in the parameter, and after that we checked condition. If n is equal to 1, then return directly, we don't need to loop it, because anyhow we are gonna loop it. So if it is 0, like length of the array is 1, then we don't need to run it. Else what we will do, we will create one like variable which will have initial value 1, so that anything which is multiplied by 1 will be the value itself. Then we have run our loop from 0 to the input dot length, or we can say n as well, less than n as well here. Anything which is preferable, anybody can write according to their way. Then we are doing I++. Then same day, temp is equal to temp into input of I. After completion of loop, we will store the value of all the elements of an array in the temp, and then we are going to return the temp simply. Okay, everybody has got till this part, I'm hoping. Okay. Okay, let's try to understand the time complexity now. Let me erase this part. Okay, so we are gonna consider this much of code, because this much of code for time complexity, because this in the let's say in code sandbox, or in our hacker earth or LeetCode, we are writing the code inside of this function. Whatever we are writing inside of this, we will consider time complexity of that. Whatever they are giving us, we are not considering it. So I am trying this in locally, so I am not considering this in the time complexity. Okay. Okay, so let's come here. So we are like we have if and else here. So if n is equal to 1, then we are returning the input of 0. Okay, so this will be returning the, like, we are not looping or anything, so this operation is a constant and it will be big O of 1. Okay, this is gonna be big O of 1 because there is no looping going on here. We are just basically returning the 0th value of it, so there is not extra space we are storing. We are just returning the whatever array we are receiving. We are not stored this array anywhere or anything. Okay, so we are just returning it. Now we come to the temp part. Okay, so we have created one variable and we are storing here the value. So are we storing like entire input here? No, we are not storing entire input here. We are storing only a single value. Again, we are storing a single value. Whenever we are storing a single value, then the operation will be big O of 1, basically, because it's considered as a constant operation, because it's not, it is gonna require a similar amount of space. Okay, after that we come to the loop. So our loop right now is running from 0 to the input length. So whatever will be our length, the input will be like the loop will be running to the length. Let's say our array is having length of 100, so it will run the loop till the length of it, like it will run the loop till 100. So we are running the loop till the input. That's why this entirely is gonna be big O of n, because in the worst case what we are gonna do, we are gonna loop over entire loop. We are not running looping it to till the half of it or anything. We are running to the end, or like on the entire input of our given array, basically. So that's why the time complexity for this for loop will be big O of n. And what we are doing here for this operation, basically we are just multiplying it and we are storing it into the temp. This is again coming as a constant operation, and which will be considered as big O of 1 as a time complexity. Okay, after that we are just returning it. Okay, and then our function is completed. Okay, so what we are seeing here is we are having big O of 1 and then big O of m. While considering the time complexity, so we consider the worst case scenario, which is the biggest of all in the code. So right now in the code we have the biggest of all is big O of n. So the time complexity for this problem is big O of n right now. So let me write it. The time complexity for this is big O of n. Okay, let me remove this one. Now let's try to understand the space complexity of this problem. So space complexity is basically if in our code we are trying to save our input, or we are trying to create a variable to store some of the operations of that particular logic. So we are gonna store it into the variable or somewhere. So we are gonna calculate what is the space complexity needed for it. So as you can see, when this function start, are we storing on line number of 5 to 6? Are we created any variable or storing it anywhere? No, we are just returning whatever we are coming to the input. So here we are not storing anything. So here there is no time complexity required in this case. But in the else part, we have stored the product into the temp variable. So for this, we are storing the value. So are we storing the entire input array here? Entire input array, what we are saying? No, we are only multiplying the value of the input and storing it into it, whatever it is. Let's say 10, 20, whatever it is, and it's a single value. So in the worst case, what is the space complexity for this is, because it's a constant space storage, so it is big O of 1. After that, are we are having any extra variables that we are storing in here? No. In this line number 11, we are basically assigning whatever the multiplied value to this temp. Okay, so after that there is no further storage into it. So what is the time complexity of it in the worst case? What is the worst time complexity for this code? It is big O of 1. So what is the time, like space complexity for this one is So our space complexity is big O of 1. So for the product of an array with brute force approach, we have achieved time complexity of big O of n and space complexity of big O of 1. And that is all about today, guys. So if anything, please let me know about in the comments. And I'm new to this, I'm trying to teach you guys DSA. Maybe I will improve over the time. Whatever your suggestion, anything, please comment into the down, and we will cover like lot of problems in the series. I'm gonna planning to cover all the 300 problems or more than 300 problems into the LeetCode. We are gonna cover all of them with time complexity, and maybe I'm not good at right now teaching, but maybe I will try to teach it more effectively in the further time. So please, I need your support, and I need your love. Please support this one, and thank you guys.